Okay, part 2. I'm hurrying. It's 6:22 a.m. and I need to get moving. Part 3 and 4 I'm sure I will have, but won't be uploaded until maybe tomorrow. So let's continue on. If you did not see part 1, please do, or you will be lost. Continuing on, the new group of world servers of the United Nations, the Luciferian group, who is preparing the way for Lucifer. I'm continuing to read their information so you understand who they are, what they are doing, their goals through the United Nations, and how it, in my opinion, is the reason that the Pope said that the Jesus Christ and the cross failed. He had to say that because by the time he walks out of the United Nations, this transfer of power is done and they will be expediting their plan, and it is called the plan. Okay, so who is to solve the problem? People in the world at this time can be divided into 4 groups. This is, of course, a wide generalization, and there are many bridging groups intermediate between the 4 major divisions. The first are the uninformed masses. These, through poverty, illiteracy, hunger, lack of employment, without leisure or means for cultural advancement, are in an inflamed condition. Side note, they are in an inflamed condition because the United States and Britain and other aligned countries have been deliberately putting them into that inflamed condition through war and bombing third world countries into oblivion, destroying their culture, and making these communities, cultures, nations that have different religious beliefs, they are bringing them to their knees. It is the goal to destroy all religious beliefs so that they can, have a clean slate by literally wiping these people off the map. And as I explained in video 1, that's what Luciferians believe is necessary to nurture the predatory and beastly part of the human nature first. Because then people are ready to say, please save us. All right, enough with my side notes. They are, however, enough developed to respond to the mental suggestion and control of more advanced people. Rest my case. Destroy them, and they are ready. Their minds are prepared for their mental suggestion, and then control by the more advanced people, which they consider themselves to be the more advanced people. Second, middle classes, both higher and lower. These constitute the bulk of any nation. Intelligent, diligent, often narrow-minded, inquiring, essentially religious. They are torn by economic and ideological conflicts created by our governments and these advanced minds. And because they can read and discuss, are beginning to think they form the most powerful element in any nation. Yes, we do, people. But what we need to avoid is allowing them to control through mental suggestion. Third, thinkers everywhere. These are the intellectual, highly educated men and women who sense ideas and can formulate them into ideals. They utilize all the known methods to reach the general public. They stir the middle class to activity and through them arouse the masses. The part they play is of paramount importance. They are steadily influencing world affairs, sometimes for good and sometimes for selfish ends. They have admitted right here that we thinkers are of paramount importance. And I am going to go out on a limb here and say that this is why we have the internet. They are giving us mental suggestions through movies, media, commercials, and instead of these thinkers realizing that they are being actually controlled to go that direction, they are avoiding what is of paramount importance, which is this doctrine right here of the United Nations. Okay, so the fourth who's going to solve it is the new group of world servers. These are the people who are building the new world order. These are the people who are building the new world order. While you're busy deciphering codes, ancient geometry, gematria, commercials, media, television, the New World Order is being put in right under your feet. They are, all of them, definitely serving humanity and are, through the power of their responses to the spiritual opportunity, tied a note, emerging out of every class, group, church, party, race, and nation, and are therefore truly representative. They speak all languages. They embrace all religions, all science, all philosophies. Their characteristics are synthesis, inclusiveness, intellectually, and fine mental development. They say nothing and write no word which could feed the fires of hatred and thus tend to separate man from man and nation from nation. Do I need to repeat that? They say nothing and write no word which could feed the fires of hatred and thus tend to separate man from man and nation from nation. They own to no creed, save the creed of brotherhood based on one life. They recognize no authority save that of their own souls. They make no clamor about their own ideas, discoveries, and theories, but because they are so inclusive in their outlook and so wide in their interpretation of truth, they see the hand of God in all happenings, His imprint upon all forms in His note, sounding forth through every channel of communication between the subjective reality and the objective outer form. In case you don't understand what the problem is here, underneath all of this fluff of goodwill, they are imposing a spiritual ideal onto humanity. Because out of one side of their mouth, they state that they are putting forth mental suggestion, and they, as advanced people, are controlling the uninformed masses. And then they try to say that they believe in this unity, believe that God is in everything. They don't see anything as good or evil. They see everything as it just is. What I'm trying to explain to you is that the narrow path, yes, religion failed humanity. I've said this in many videos and I've said it for years. The religion of Christianity, the dogma, failed humanity. The New Age push books literature, masters, channeling entities, swung the pendulum to assist the United Nations and the spiritual hierarchy. It swung the pendulum all the way, 180 degrees. I explained this in a couple of other videos, or previous videos and a couple of other videos, very simply. They believe that the spiritual hierarchy are the more advanced people, and that their controlling of humanity is of necessity. Although they say that they believe in the individual soul, they also believe that they are supposed to guide the individual soul because they are the more advanced, intelligent people. They want to put all of humanity on an equal footing, which sounds good, but it's a socialist equal footing where you still have a spiritual government telling you what, when, and how to think. They don't want to make kings and queens and presidents equal to the people. In a true sense of equality, no man is over another man. Everyone does live on equal footing, but that means that what I eat for dinner, the president eats for dinner. Whatever car the president drives, the people underneath him, that he would consider to be underneath him, drives. Because really the title is only put there for absolute need to resolve issues that cannot be resolved, a fair and equitable. They want socialism where everyone is equally poor, and that they are still telling you what to do. Don't be fooled. Behind this fourfold division of humanity stand those enlightened ones whose right and privilege it is to watch over human evolution. Right and privilege, and that does not include your privilege, and to guide the destinies of men. There you have it. In the West, we call them Christ and his disciples. In the theologies of the East, they are called by many names. They are also known as the agents of God, hierarchy of liberated souls. And you ain't in it, people, who seek ceaselessly to aid and help humanity. This they do through the implanting of ideas in the minds of world thinkers. This they do through the implanting of ideas, so that these ideas in due time receive recognition and eventually become controlling factors in human life. Implanting, controlling. In the aggregate of this play with ideas, in the constant impact upon the human consciousness of the great concepts which lie back of our evolutionary process, the human race is developing the power to think, to choose, and build a sure foundation for human living. Remember that if you have choice, you don't have free will. Because if I offer you, would you like blue or red, I've chose both of those for you only because I've decided that blue or red is okay for you to choose from. And I don't care which one, but if you looked at me and said, no, I want white, I'd say, oh, no, but that's not the choice I gave you. Still control. In the aggregate of this playing with ideas and in the constant impact upon the human consciousness of the great concepts which lie back of our evolutionary process, the human race is developing the power to think, to choose, and to build a sure foundation for human living. Through the evolutionary presentation of ideas, there is a steady march towards a liberty of thought through the method of experiment or discard of renewed effort with ever newer concepts, which will enable mankind to build true, to the great thought patterns which underlie the outer structure of our world. There is a plan for humanity. So much for choice. The world structure emerges from and is built upon certain inner thought patterns, and it is these patterns which are producing the present flood of governmental experiments. Governmental experiments in every nation. But today there is no training in the art of contacting the world of patterns and in the true interpretation of ideas. Hence the problems. When humanity sees its problems with greater clarity, it will act with wisdom and train its observers and communicators more carefully and perfectly. These men and women will be those in whom the intuition has awakened at the behest of an urgent intellect. They will be the people whose minds are so subordinated to the group good and so free from all sense of separateness that their minds present no impediment to contact with the world of reality and of inner truth. They will not necessarily be people who could be termed religious in the ordinary sense of the word, but they will be people of goodwill, high mental caliber, with minds well stocked and equipped. They will be free from personal ambition and selfishness, animated by love of humanity and a desire to help the race. Such man is a spiritual man. You know, I'm spiritual. I have miraculous things happen every day. I am not dogmatic or religious, and I don't want to be a leader. I don't even want to be a teacher. I just share. And then there are those on the other side where the United Nations is. It wants to control and steer humanity in the direction they want them to go, but not only the direction. They want to control the how they get there. The middle narrow path is becoming all more important, people. The determination of the spiritual hierarchy of the planet to train the minds of men more rapidly. I mean, we train dogs. Build towards a more synthetic unity brought about a decision which involved the formation of group units and the emergence of those groups of workers and thinkers who, through their activities, have so largely governed, molded our world in the dark, from the dark. That's where they are hiding for the past 3 or 4 centuries. Do you remember when I said I discovered that history had been changed and I thought that it started in the age of reason? When I read this, I said I was right. Thank you, God, for showing me that where it all started was during the age of reason, 1700s. We have therefore, dating from the 15th century, the inauguration of definite and specific group work along clearly defined lines, with each group standing for some peculiar presentation of truth and for some aspect of knowledge of reality. So they have these groups under names that you would never suspect them. These groups fall generally into 4 major divisions: the cultural, political, religious, and scientific. In the more modern times, 3 other groups have definitely emerged. They are philosophical, psychological, and financial. Through these 7 groups, we now have a humanity in close relation, though not at one. A humanity characterized by 3 things: an amazing interrelation and intercommunication of which radio, press, modern transportation, telephone, and telegraph are servants. The press is a servant. A widespread philanthropic enterprise and the growth of a sense of responsibility for one's brother, which was totally unknown in the year 1500. Movements such as the Red Cross, educational foundations, hospitals, and the present economic relief measures to be found in every country are its exoteric manifestations. A division of the entire human family, consciously, unconsciously, into the basic groups which can be identified as conservative and progressive. Yes, they did want the division. The immediate objectives of the plan. Why, the Bopey Boo is here. Raise the level of human consciousness so that intelligent thinking men and women will be consciously in touch with the world of ideas and the realm of intuitive perception. This means that they will be oriented towards reality. Average men and women will then be led definitely to shift their attention from the world of the emotions in which they have hitherto lived, and will begin to live more in their mental natures and to think clearly and wisely. They will find their living conditions so ameliorated. I have no idea what that means. You know what? I'm going to look it up. I don't like to continue when I don't understand a word, so let's do this. Okay, to make or become better, more bearable, improve strategies. Okay, we're good. And so we are right here. And wisely ordered that the present state of fear of intense competitive struggle for existence will be superseded by a real measure of stability and security. A more leisured life will consequently be made possible, and this will enable men to unfold their powers, mental and spiritual, normally. This is no picture of an immediate utopia. The clarifying of the international situation. It is necessary that each nation should realize two things: the importance of attending to its own business and its own internal problems, which are those of beautifying the national life by the production of order, stabilization, and above all, freedom. You put that word freedom in there after you've just talked about controlling. This must be done by the wise consideration of the needs of the entire people, accepting no part of the national life. Second, the prime importance of each nation realizing its responsibility to all other nations and the interrelation of all parts of the life of our world. This realization will bring about a reciprocal interplay in the field of economics on which are based practically all world problems and differences. The third objective is the growth of the group idea, with a consequent general emphasis upon group good, group understanding, group interrelation, and group goodwill. My mother is no longer considered to be a contributor to society. She is a strain on society. Therefore, she would be considered, by everything I've read about them, as a burden on the group. My grandson, who has kidney failure, is not considered to be an asset to the group. They see death as necessary for these types of people. Be careful about this unity and understand it well, because they really don't want people who understand words and know how to think, because then you get someone like myself who can tear this thing apart. To hold the vision of the plan before the eyes of men, for where there is no vision the people perish. To act as an intermediate group between the hierarchy and humanity, receiving light and power, and then using both of these under the inspiration of love to build the new world of tomorrow. So let's summarize. All true servers everywhere belong to the new group of world servers. Whether their line of service is cultural, political, scientific, religious, philosophical, psychological, or financial, they constitute part of the inner group of workers for humanity, of the world mystics, whether they know it or not. This group gives to the word spiritual a wider significance. They believe it to mean an inclusive endeavor towards human betterment, uplift, and understanding. They give it the connotation of tolerance, international synthetic communion, religious inclusiveness, and of all trends of thought which concern the integrating development of the human being. It is a group, therefore, without a terminology or Bible. It has no creed, nor dogmatic formulations of truth. The motivating impulse of each and all is love of God, as works out in love for one's fellow man. The materialization of ideas which have hitherto remained theoretical, prime functions of the new group of world servers. They have to remove the whole theory from the realm of sentiment, of idealism, and of mystical aspiration, and must bring the question as a concrete demonstrated factor before the public. They must place emphasis on the expression of goodwill and the fulfillment of the law of love, and not upon affiliation with organizations with their labels and their doctrines. The power which the new group of world servers will eventually yield will be drawn from two sources. First, from the inner center or subjective world government. Oh, that sounds like real freedom to me, coming from the world government, whose members are responsible for the spread of these ideals and ideas which have led humanity onwards from age to age. The inner center has always existed, and the great leaders of the race in every field have been connected with it. The great idealists and world workers, such as the Christ and his great brother, the Buddha, and those lesser workers, such as Plato, Spinoza, Abraham Lincoln, or Florence Nightingale, have all been associated with this center. The range of these associates is tremendous, and the grades of these workers are many, but self-sacrificing work for the betterment of human living and love for their fellow man have distinguished them all. These great souls are primarily distinguished by the fact they know no mental limitation. Well, I don't know any mental limitation. And their inclusiveness is such that for them there are no racial distinctions or religious differences. The second source from which the new group of world servers will draw its power will be from the men of goodwill in the world at any given time. They will be able to swing into activity at any moment such a weight of thought and such momentous public opinion that they will eventually be in a position to definitely affect world affairs. Sounds like freedom to me. The coming one. I don't know why all this yellow is here. Oh, I see. Okay, write down the ages in many world cycles in many countries, great points of tension. You know what? I'm going to end this here. Next video. I want to keep this short for those who need short. Thank you for listening.